And
What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for another episode of A Man and His Bricks featuring Thick Brick once again. How you doing,
hello,
man?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Have not had the best of weeks.
Oh,
I have some just some ongoing health challenges that sometimes flare up and are worse than others. This week hasn't been great, but enjoyed Mandalorian. We'll talk about that later, but I
mhm.
thought that was really fun. But yeah, doing pretty good. Welcome to everyone in the chat. It'll be interesting to see how many people we have on Wednesday. Welcome. We've got Ghost Train, sorry, Exit Gaming, Camino Productions, Sylv, That Gnome Kid, Fat Cat Bricks, Caleb the Collector, Scott Davis, Grinding. Let's see, Bricky McGee, nice, Mr. Wolf, Lego Sarsgaard, maybe. Welcome. And hope you guys are all doing well. Well, hope you're all excited for another podcast. So you guys know the drill by now. It's three. We like to do three segments. So the first one, Life of an AFOL, we'll just kind of talk a little bit about our lives, what's been going down, a little bit Lego behind the scenes. Doesn't have to be Lego related, whatever. And then we've got a themed Q&A again. This one, we are going to be talking about the state of Lego Star Wars, the state of Lego in general. Is it on the rise? Is it on the downslide? What's going on with it? What do we think? What could be improved? So we'll be taking your questions, discussing all that good stuff. And then third and final segment, we are going to be discussing Mando. And I'm excited. I'm sure you are too, because I got some stuff to say in regards to Mando. But yeah, thank you all
Yeah,
for
very
joining.
very exciting,
Someone,
very exciting stuff. I said.
I think someone thinks you're Republic Bricks because they're asking you to make instructions for something. This is Thick Brick, a different person.
maybe we look alike. I don't know. It's subjective, I guess.
Yeah. But Scott, Grinding, anybody else, let anyone know. We'll be in podcast mode for a little bit, so if they're mad that we're not reading chats, just let them know. But yeah, how you doing, man? I know I already said that, but how's life been for you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just busy week, past few days. Like springtime comes around, and for my store orders start picking up, and just been busy. The classic stuff on the YouTube grind. You know how it is. So same
Oh
old.
yeah. And then you've been still doing like daily uploads?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah, for sure. I'm trying to do like 4 or 5 pieces of long form per week. And then in terms of shorts, I try to do like one per day. Just like I have like my kind of schedule, and that's that. It's been going steady, and yeah, it's a learning process for sure. Um, I'm definitely still a noob. So, how about you?
things have been pretty good.
You were telling me last week about, or more than a week ago by now, but you were telling me about how you wanted to slow down.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've been transitioning into uploading less and putting out better content. I mean, my content's already good, but better than it was before. And I've been doing that for a couple of reasons.
Mhm.
The first is just burnout, and the second is I don't really want to be a channel that uploads a ton. I want to be a channel that uploads less, but kind of uploads the higher quality, better stuff. Because, I do a lot of mock challenges, and those aren't videos you can crank out every day. Those take a lot of time. I have to build, I have to assemble everything. But the transition so far has been good. I haven't seen a significant dip in views, which is the main thing I was worried about. Because, one less video a week could add up to being quite a bit over time. But my Coruscant videos have been performing really well, and I've got a few other videos that have been kind of blowing up a little bit and growing. So I think that's a good sign, as in it's time to step back and not upload as much. I am running into a kind of, I don't want to call it an issue, but I don't know. Do you watch the weekly, like when your viewers are on YouTube at all, like on the YouTube stats?
Not really, honestly. Like I know what you're talking about, but I haven't really looked at mine in detail.
because most of mine, and I'm sure it's probably the same for most people, but the most people are on YouTube Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so I'm running
Yes,
into this issue. Sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. I'll let you.
I've been running into this issue where I realize like I've started uploading Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are kind of dry. And so I'm trying to figure out what I am going to do with that moving forward, because I don't necessarily want to just condense all my content into one weekend and then have nothing for anybody. I do stream Wednesdays, but I mean, a stream is not the same as like long form content, in my opinion. And so I'm trying to decide like what I want to do, because it's hard to not upload when people are on. Because, you know, I've uploaded on Tuesdays before, and traditionally those videos just don't perform great. I don't know if it's the video topic or the video itself, or just because it's on a Tuesday, and then you have Wednesday and Thursday. So you basically have 3 dry days of no growth before you actually get some substantial views. And then I get worried by then that video has been buried by the content everybody else is putting out. And so I'm just trying to figure out like, I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do with that.
Yeah, I got you. There's definitely like a strategic way to do it if you want to do that. Like I definitely notice a dip Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and then Thursday, the weekend starts to come around, so it starts to pick up a bit. And you know how like on your stats you can see the last 48 hours. During those like dip days, mine drops to like 20K views in the last 48 hours, and then on the weekends it goes up to like 30 to 40, then it drops back down, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So definitely I know what you're talking about, and I just see it on the videos. But I mean, as summer comes around, you know, people are going to be having a lot more free time, and you know, whether it's work or school or whatever that they have off of. So I think in general YouTube has just a generally upwards tick on in the summertime, from what I've heard. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know. I think for you at this point, you're growing pretty quickly, and it's gotten to the point where you have a really solid core audience. So it wouldn't really matter how often you post, as much as you want, really. You'll still pull your views. And the way your content works compared to a lot of other people is you have, like, it's like watching you is like watching a TV series every week. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a story that plays out over the span of weeks, because you're building something, you're doing it for a long time. So like the people who are watching and they actually care. So I think you have a really solid core audience, and I wouldn't be too concerned about, you know, because like, you know, you see a lot of these bigger YouTubers especially, and like, you know, their turnover rate is super high. They rely on like constantly acquiring more and more and new viewers. Whereas you have a really solid core audience who's going to watch everything you put out every week. So I think that's better in some ways, a lot better, because those are like reliable views. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you said that, because that was like the next thing I wanted to talk about. I can't remember if we talked about this last time. Sometimes I feel like I just talk about the same things over and over, but you know, it's kind of like sometimes there are just certain focuses in your life, and that's all you're focused on. But I'm sure you guys have noticed in the chat. I'm sure you noticed that YouTube, especially the Lego YouTube community, is going through a huge transition, and has been, in what type of content is popular and what style of editing is popular. And it's that very fast pace. Like, I built this many minifigs. I built these kinds of minifigs, cursed minifigs, Mr. Beast style editing, right? Lots of cuts. And that has obviously been doing very well for a lot of people. It has been a great like view of way to pull in a lot of views. And the thing I'm struggling with is I really don't like those kinds of videos. I don't enjoy that. I don't watch those kinds of videos. Like, nothing about that appeals to me, right? Because I'm very much I'm a little bit more of a slower, not viewer, but like, I enjoy something that's a little bit more slow paced and story driven, instead of like gimmick driven or edit driven. And so I'm struggling because I don't want to transition my channel into that stuff. But at the same time, I feel like my channel is starting to fall by the wayside as I watch all these other channels explode and pull in subscribers and views. But the thing is, I don't know that those subscribers necessarily correlate to long-term viewers. Kind of like, you know, you were saying, and we've been saying it, I feel like, viral content tends to bring in a lot of empty subscribers, regardless of what it is. And I'm not calling out the Lego YouTuber. That's just how it is in general, right? If you put out viral content, you're going to appeal to a lot of people who aren't interested in coming back. And so then your only other option is to keep going viral. And so I'm trying to figure out where my place in all of this is, because I obviously don't want to fall to the wayside. And I think it's important to adapt and grow with the trends. And so what I'm trying to do right now is take what's popular and what's trending and kind of morph it into my vision and my style and figure out how to improve my videos from there and kind of make videos that are adjacent to those other types of videos. They're not the same, but they have similar attributes. A couple of things I've been doing is adding more jokes, more humor into my videos. And I think that really helps people want to watch longer and be engaged, because sometimes what I'm building, it's nice to have little jokes thrown in there to keep it interesting, keep you laughing, kind of keep you on your toes. And I have also been working on just making the videos a little bit more story driven. So even if I'm just building a mock, I turn it into a challenge of I'm challenging myself to build this mock with either these kinds of pieces or in this amount of time or this or that. There's all different kinds of stipulations. Whereas before it was just you build the mock, you make the showcase, and you put it out. And so those are a couple of things I've been implementing, but I'm not going to lie, man, it's been a little frustrating. Feeling like my channel's fallen by the wayside a little bit in that regard, because everybody wants to grow, everybody wants to be big, and I'm happy to grow the way I'm growing. I've always wanted a core audience. I've wanted people who come back regularly. Like you said, my goal has been to turn Coruscant and my mock building series into a TV show of sorts that people are waiting for, they tune into, they're excited about, because then I don't have to rely on that video going viral, because each week it's pulling in steady, consistent views. I'm trying to get it to the point where the steady, consistent views is 50, 80, 100K views. So that's kind of what's been on my mind.
Yeah. And what I wanted to say is I think, you might feel like you're falling by the wayside, but I think you're on the right track personally, because if you just look at it objectively, for a channel with 40,000 subscribers, getting half of your viewership to plug in every week is impressive. There's channels with 300,000 that don't pull that many views per video. So I think it's you might compare yourself in terms of the subscriber count and all this type of stuff, but when it comes to engagement strictly, you have a solid core audience that even channels with 500K don't have, because you rarely see a lot of channels. I'm just saying, you're pulling in 20 to 30K views per update video each week. That's very impressive for a channel that has 40,000 subscribers. So, maybe you could incorporate some of those elements of the virality, right? Where it's maybe slightly fast-paced editing. Like I told you before, for me, my long form is for my core audience, and I use the shorts as my exposure. So, it's really how you want to do it. I think it's good to incorporate some of that style, but also it is empty viewership. Like you said, a lot of those people are going to come for the viral video. But let's be honest, even if 1% of those 100,000 views you get on a viral video stay, then that's still 1,000 new subscribers. So ultimately, I think it's good to incorporate some of the viral aspects, but I don't think you need to adjust your style totally, because just because, people are being successful with that super viral style doesn't mean that you need to necessarily become that, because there's always going to be a demand for someone who's not hyper fast paced editing, oh, I did this, then I did this, then I did this. And it's there's always going to be people who want to just watch normal content, if that makes any sense. And also, here's the thing about the viral content is it's not super sustainable. Let's be honest. For you to keep coming up with crazy viral ideas and all the time that are getting millions of views and do all this hyper fast paced editing, sure, it gets great results really fast, but the downside of it is that the downside is exactly that it gets great results really fast. And when you see 1 million views on a video, you're not going to have any incentive to want to do a normal video. You know what I mean? So I think that building it up slowly and getting that snowball rolling faster and faster and faster over time is a way better and more sustainable strategy than like trying to have like an explosive video from the start and make every single one a banger. So that's just me personally. It's like, you know, fast money, slow problems is what they say, right? So, you know, it's like you might have great results really quickly, but like it's not sustainable. Let's be honest. You know, it's like, and that's why I started doing my weekly Q&A series, because it's just like something I can look forward to every day. It's something I have scheduled. You know what I mean? So that's the type of, and it's something for my core audience that will appeal to them. And that's ultimately the most important customer at the end of the day, because those are the people who are coming back week after week, right?
Yeah, that's I think what it boils down to is you know what FOMO is, right? Fear of missing out. I feel like it's important that can happen on YouTube, where it's like we are all in our own lanes and our channels are all different in different circumstances, but it can be easy to be, because we're all so close and we're all, you know, I talk with a lot of other YouTubers. I see their channels, their videos. We're all so closely engaged with each other that it can be very easy to be like, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this, I want this, and I want this, you know, I want to be here, I want to be there, instead of, and that's kind of what I've really been trying to focus on, is taking more focus away from how everybody else is doing and focus more on myself. Not that I'm going to ignore other people, but be more aware of like, what does success look like for my channel specifically? Because, you know, there is growth every month. I'm getting more views than I was last month. Everything is up. And so at the end of the day, that is the goal. It can just be, it just sometimes is hard when it's like, okay, yes, I got this many more views, but then people got this many more views and this many more subscribers.
Yeah, yeah.
But at
Well,
the end of the day,
that's why you need to like you know, it's important to compare yourself so you have some frame of reference to know what's possible and what other people are doing. But at the same time, you can't let that number really like start messing with your head. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think that's where I've been for a couple of months. It really got in my head. And I got to the point where I was convinced, I was like, my channel is done if I don't adapt and change.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to do it. You know, I just had zero motivation because I was like, I know what I'm passionate about and what I want to make, and that doesn't fit the mold. And so I have also been fortunate enough to see some of my building challenge formatted videos do well, like, you know, well for me. And that gave me hope of like, okay, I don't need to go super viral. Like I can have these videos get 100,000 views, 200,000. That's not 500,000 views, but you know, that's still more than satisfactory for me. And so I think that was a very good sign and a blessing, frankly, because I was able to see that and be like, okay, my channel is good. And then of course, with how well Coruscant's been doing, I've been able to kind of right the ship these past couple of weeks and really be like, okay, just pump the brakes here. You don't need to change anything. Your channel's not dying, because, you know, as someone, when you're so focused on growth, there can be the tendency to always be focused on, I need to be changing and be better, instead of just like, I need to be consistent with what I'm currently doing, and that will take me where I need to go. And so it's been nice because, you know, I put out a video last week, which is called Why I Don't Build Why I Don't Build Imperial Mocks. It was like Clone Wars versus Imperial, which is not a viral type video, but I really enjoyed making that kind of a video. And I realized, like, you know, this is the kind of stuff I want to do and stick doing, and I can implement new stuff into it. But I'm hoping I can get to the point where I've built a big enough core audience to where even those non-searchable videos or not super popular videos will do really well or do better.
Yeah, and look, also it's like when it comes to performance and virality, like I think as long as you're getting better and growing and you're not there's one of two options. You're either improving and getting better and your channel's growing, or it's not. Those are one of your two options. And if, you know, if it is and everything's going fine and you're still pulling views, then I think that's all you can ask for. You know, it's like everyone's got their own speed. And if you haven't noticed, a lot of growth on the platform really comes at an unexpected time, and it comes really fast. Like when it rains, it pours. So, you know, it's like you might post 1,000 videos and then like one of them is what'll cause the like explosion or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like it's different for everyone. And also here's the thing too, it's like some people are just naturally inherently better at like, you know, the whole like content thing, you know? It's like just the way it is. Like I can tell you personally, I'm not like a natural filmmaker. So for me, all this type of stuff is like a very, very uphill battle. Like I am, you know what I mean? It's difficult for me. I didn't know any of this stuff when I started, and I still don't know it. But then I see some other people, and I'm like, damn, that guy is just a natural. Like some people just get it, you know, they just understand it, and you just have to take. So that's why I think it's important to just recognize where you are, and like, let's be honest, you're way farther than where you started. Like ultimately, it's like you wouldn't have 40K if you hadn't done what you've done so far. So just keep doing what you're doing, and then. You know, and here's the cool thing: as you grow, it's more of the snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And like I'm sure now you're probably growing at a way faster rate than you were 6 months ago. So 6 months from now, you'll be at 100K or whatever. And you know, it's like as you grow, the speed is faster and faster. So I don't think you have anything to be concerned about. I don't think you're falling to the wayside. I wouldn't worry.
I hope not. I mean, it's just hard because like Lego Star Wars mocks are not really done a whole lot anymore. You know what I mean? Like I almost feel like I'm part of a dying era. But and which is unfortunate.
Well, there's clearly a demand for it. There's clearly a demand for it. I've noticed a few more viral type videos where people were like, oh, I built an Imperial mock in 7 days or something like that. And I'm not saying you need to do that, but like, you know, I saw a video like that had a few 100,000 views, and you know, clearly there's a demand for it. So maybe just throw in the occasional title like that. You know what I mean? Which I know you've done. You've told me you've done like the whole, you know, 5 minutes versus 1 hour versus right. So like, you know.
Yeah, I think I've mostly just seen, so, you know, like Rich Boy Jay doesn't really do his building series anymore. David kind of does his. Matt doesn't really do his. I've seen less and less, which I don't know. I hope that, you know, there's still an interest for it and people continue to enjoy doing that kind of stuff, because that's really what I enjoy doing the most. So it would be interesting to see like what I would transition to if that ever didn't really become popular anymore.
Yeah.
But I hope that doesn't happen.
If you have it, because of the, I mean, I wouldn't worry about it because of the fact that you have a subscriber base regardless. So like, whether or not, and you're still pulling views. So ultimately, like there is, whether you like it or not, there is a demand for whatever you're showing. And here's the thing too: once you built up a subscriber base, let's say you decide to pivot and stop doing mocks and start doing something else, like you can do that. Right.
I think a lot of it too is dictated by like what kind of Star Wars content is out. You know what I mean? Like I think if Clone Wars content ever comes back in some form, you know, Tales of the Jedi came out last year. That was you know, that was some solid Clone Wars content that came in the middle of all of this Imperial stuff, Mando, all that kind of stuff. And so I think it kind of just depends on like what's coming out.
I mean,
with Star Wars as well. And what's popular and trendy.
Have you been watching Bad Batch?
No, I haven't.
Well, yeah,
I'm
telling you, Bad Batch is very much Clone Wars content. So
I mean, yeah, that's another one. That's a great point. I have seen some clips and stuff, and there have been a little bit of I've seen some stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure once I get into Bad Batch, I'll finish it. It's just been hard for me to like bring myself to watch that first episode. I don't know why.
It's really good this season. The episode last night was really good. Highly recommend.
I'll have to check it out. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about for life, Finaful. I don't really have anything. Do you have anything else?
No, man. Just running my store, constantly adding new stuff, working on improving it, and yeah. So,
sweet. All right, guys. Let's turn over the time to you guys for the second segment, which is a Q&A. So we're going to be taking questions in regards to Lego Star Wars as a theme, how it's doing. Is it on the rise? Is it on the downfall? What our opinions are on it, the new basically style or the new era of what Lego's been doing with Star Wars. We could even talk about Lego in general if you want, just any questions related to that. Obviously, like, what's your favorite Lego Star Wars set is not really one. So I get that question multiple times a stream now, and it's crazy.
I know, I get it all the time too, and it's a little. What's your favorite minifigure? What's your favorite set? It's like, yeah.
So yeah, hey Coconut, what would be the best place to get Lego tiles? It depends on the color of the tile, because you can get a lot of tiles off of the Pick-a-Brick online Pick-a-Brick wall, but some of them are expensive. You can also get them on Bricklink; they're a little bit cheaper there. So I'd say Bricklink or Pick-a-Brick, the online Pick-a-Brick store.
Two good spots.
Yeah. Do you think the unknown set coming out this fall will be a Republic gunship?
That's the rumor, isn't it?
I've heard a rumor about a gunship. I mean, I don't have any kind of information that would tell me that it would be a gunship. But I mean, Lego released an ATTE last year, so who knows? I would say it's possible. Yeah, I'd say it's possible. Do you think Lego?
I think it's possible because it's just like the UCS version came out last year, and it was 2013 when the last Playscale model came out. So it's been 10 years since the last gunship. So I think it's definitely a possibility. And the last ATTE was also 2013. Now that I think about it.
I don't think there's a coincidence between this, but every single gunship that has been released ever, it might not counting the UCS gunship, has been released in tandem with an ATTE. So 2002 we got the first ATTE in gunship. 2008 we got that Clone Wars ATTE, Clone Wars gunship. 2013 we got the 2013 ATTE and 2013 gunship. So this, I mean, if we are to believe the trends and to believe history, I could see it happening again, because we got another ATTE last year.
Speaking of gunships, I just bought a sealed UCS gunship. So,
ooh,
yeah, that's
nice.
I just bought it yesterday, and from Bendel Bricks, right? You know Bendel Bricks. Yeah, I bought it from him. So he had a sealed one, and he gave me a good price on it. So I was like, all right, cool. I've been meaning to buy this anyway, so might
as
well. That's
dope. Are you gonna build it soon, or are you gonna keep it sealed for a while?
I'm gonna build it. I don't really keep stuff sealed. I'm not a sealed guy, so definitely gonna be building that. The only one I own is the Clone Wars one. I had the 2013 version, and then I sold it. And I was like, you know what? Like, for me personally, I feel like I've told you this before. We might have talked about this, but I'm like, I just want all the UCS sets. Like, if I'm gonna own one of each build, it's just gonna be the UCS version. So I have the gunship on the way. So, and next is the AT-AT. After that, I'm gonna buy.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I had that one for a little while. That one's a really cool one. So, let's see. I think Lego is settling into a new post-COVID norm. Yeah, I think they definitely have started to kind of right the ship and figure out. It seems like Lego sets aren't going out of stock as quickly, and they tend to be coming in stock, especially like the Lego Star Wars stuff. I remember it seemed like for a while there, every single Lego Star Wars set was just always out of stock or back order. And
yeah,
it seems like
they were just having difficulties keeping up with demand, but now it seems like it's okay.
Do you go to the Lego store for Pab Wall for gray tiles? I do sometimes. I get them from Bricklink and the Pab Wall, like I was saying. Do you think there's too much Star Wars content for Lego? There's so many options. Maybe it's hard for designers to choose the best ones, and it's hurting Lego.
That's a good point.
I could see that as an option, because if you think about it, we get like one Kenobi set, one Book of Boba set, a few Clone Wars sets. Trying to think of what else came out last year. They're trying to do Republic helmets, Imperial helmets. And so, yeah, I think that could definitely, could over dilute Lego, because let's take, for example, if you're only building, let's say Lego's like, okay, there's too many TV shows. We only have enough sets to do one set per show. the chances of you picking a good set for that show are much smaller than if you had 3 sets for each show. I think a perfect example of that is the Kenobi set, the only one we ever got. People hated on it. I don't think it was terrible, but it definitely wasn't a banger. Whereas I think if they had done a few more Kenobi sets, they might have had a better chance of doing a good set from that show. And so if they only have one chance or one set from each show, I think it could definitely hurt them. I think it's I kind of wish they'd go back to where they focused more on one wave was dedicated towards one era instead of every wave features every era. And I know Lego has done that in the past, but I just felt like previously it was a little bit more focused of like, okay, 2013, the main focus is going to be Clone Wars sets. We're going to throw some other stuff in there, but the brunt of the sets we got in 2013 were Clone Wars. Whereas now it's like every single wave has just a plethora. And I just think I kind of miss the more focused approach.
I agree with you there. I like the focused approach too. And I was actually talking about that earlier today with someone where it felt like in 2008, 9, 10, it was very heavily early Clone Wars focus, right? Season 1, 2, and 3. And, you were getting those phase 1s in the animated style. And like there was some consistency and structure to the releases. But nowadays, it just feels like random and all over the place. So I totally feel you there that like maybe more content is like causing them to like jump around a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And it seems like, Mando is clearly like their heavy focus. Mando and Clone Wars stuff is probably like the best selling stuff for Lego. And I mean, like, yeah, you see some stuff with Bad Batch and like how many Bad Batch sets we have. We got 2 Bad Batch sets, right? For the past, for season 1 and for season 1, we had the Justifier and the Bad Batch shuttle.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think it was just those 2.
So, yeah. And it's like, maybe in the past when like a season of Clone Wars was coming out, it would have been like 5 different sets, right? Because like, for example, 2013, you had like the gunship, the ATTE, you had technically the ATTE was based on episode 2, but it's still kind of Clone Wars.
Yeah, Clone Wars.
But you had the Headhunter with Palm Krell, you had the ATRT, like you had, you know what I mean? It was like this huge Clone Wars wave.
That was the debut year of the 501st clone too.
Yes, correct.
Like that blue one.
Which was interesting because it came with a Yoda, but Yoda didn't appear in any of the scenes where there was an ATRT in the 501st.
Yeah, that was such a weird set. A sniper droideka, an ATRT, a 501st clone, and Yoda with Umbara box print. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, that was really weird.
What's up, Doug, Firebird, Brick Wizard, everybody else who's just joining? Appreciate you guys. We're talking Lego Star Wars, the state of Lego Star Wars, what we think about it. Any kind of questions in regards to that, we're taking them and discussing. Is Justifier 130 a good investment? I don't know. I don't consider myself much of like an investor, so I honestly don't really know. Like, I haven't looked at the aftermarket value of what it is right now. I mean, it's got 2 exclusive figs, I think. So I mean, the figures I'm sure will do well, but I just don't know how well. I mean, it's hard to say. Like, it's Lego Star Wars, so at the end of the day, it is a safe investment. Because no Lego Star Wars set is going to be worth less than you paid for it in 3 years. That's just the reality of Lego Star Wars. It's too popular, but I don't know that it's going to be like a crazy good one either.
I wouldn't say it's going to be one of those that's like necessarily worth holding, especially for the size,
Yeah, it's huge.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, if you want to do like real and the best ROI in terms of like Lego Star Wars investing is definitely minifigures. I wouldn't really. Unless like a set is like really popular, I wouldn't waste my time investing in specific sets personally.
There's a lot of minifigures out there that are going for more than a set would go for.
But that's what I'm saying too. And it's like, how much space does that take up? It's like a little baggie, and you put it in your drawer and you forget about it for a few years, then you come back to it and you sell it for 5 times the amount of money. So it's like, it's way more effective in my opinion. Whereas like if you buy a whole set, it's like a big box. You have to have like a place to put it, and
Firebird says, what clones do you want to see in the rumored Swamp Speeder set? I would like to see 2 clones. I think 2 clones would be a good number. One would probably be more likely, but I'd like two. I honestly would love to see kind of like an homage or a throwback to the old Swamp Speeder, just 442nd Siege Battalion. I think that would be really cool. And obviously, Lego hasn't done them since that era, those years, the late 2000s. So I think 442nd would be really cool, and then maybe like just like a regular grunt, phase 2 grunt, or just two
Yeah.
442nds. Either of those would make me happy.
I was thinking 442nd as well. I really like, personally, green is like my favorite color. Purple is my other favorite color, but we already got 187. So definitely some 442nd. Or, it's a long shot, but with that new macro piece, a Commander Bly would be really cool to see.
Oh, 327th?
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that.
Maybe it would be cool if it was like a Swamp Speeder, maybe with Commander Bly, like 327th, and like a few droids or something. I don't know, but I have a hunch that it's just gonna be Kashyyyks again. Something tells me it's gonna be Kashyyyks.
I mean, that would make more sense for Lego because they probably still have the mold out from like the 2019.
Yeah, and they would just do an updated print, right, with the 2020 style.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, Kashyyyks not terrible. Really, the only thing I don't want to see is 501st. Like, as long as it's not 501st,
I don't think it's 501st.
I'm getting real tired of 501st. Let's see.
Yeah, there's a lot of different official 501st.
Yeah, there are. There are. Do you think if we get a new gunship, since the ATTE came out with Cody in the OG Clone Wars wave, we have an ATTE with Rex and Cody? What?
I think he's asking if we get a gunship this summer, will it have Rex?
Oh, because Cody came with the ATTE.
I don't know if that's enough of a reason.
I don't think so. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Rex. I've heard rumors that Rex is coming in the Swamp Speeder.
Oh yeah. Interesting.
So I don't know. I do. Rex in a gunship. I don't know. I just have a hard time believing there's going to be a gunship period, to be honest. I just don't really see that happening. Like, I think it could happen. I mean, I guess if a gunship happens, it could have a Rex. But I think that would have more to do with the fact of they know how bad people want to phase 2 Rex and not because of, like, that came in this set or that set.
I just hope they don't. If they do a phase 2 Rex, I just pray that they don't use that Cody helmet for him.
That Cody helmet's real bad. I
just like, if they do a phase 2 Rex, I just pray to God that they use the old helmet with no holes. It looks so bad. I can't get over it.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I'm not super interested in any Clone Wars sets coming out, because I know I'm not going to want the clones that come in them. So I'm like, at the end of the day, if it comes with a Rex, sweet. I probably wouldn't buy it anyways. I still haven't gotten the new ATTE. I have 4 of the 2013 ATTE, and that one's my favorite. And it's like, I don't need the minifigures in the new one, so there just isn't much of a reason. So I would imagine the gunship will probably be in the same.
Yeah. So I mean, look, it's. I'll be honest with you. If they release a phase 2 Rex with that helmet, I'll still buy it. But it's just not going to be exciting.
Let's see here. How many pieces are in your mock? I have no idea.
Thousands.
Yeah, people ask me that, and like, I do put out I'll put, like, when I do the finale, I'll do like 80,000 plus or 50,000 plus, and that's just really an estimate based on previous mocks. Like, I don't like sit there and count out the bricks, so I couldn't tell you. A lot. This one is definitely going to be up there with Cato Nemoidia because of all the tiles I've had to use.
Sick. So what's going on with? I meant to ask you earlier, but are you going to have to take it apart before you move?
Yeah, I am. And it sucks, dude. We were not planning on moving. We were planning on being at this apartment until we buy a house. Like, this was going to be, the place. And so that's why I did this big project. And then all of a sudden, the beginning of this year, a situation arose that allowed us to be able to do things we thought we weren't going to be able to do. I don't want to say too much now, just, in case things change, but it involved us needing to be out of our apartment by the end of this contract. Basically, we couldn't re-sign, and our contract ends the end of May. And so I literally have until the end of April to get this done, because I don't want to take it apart 2 days before I move. You know what I mean? And so I'm pretty pissed about it, not going to lie, because I really wanted to keep this one built for a while.
Yeah.
And the issue I'm running into now is I'm trying to get it done as fast as I can, which means I'm spending a lot more money. I doubled my budget for Coruscant last month, and I'm probably going to have to add even more this month. And so, because I'm instead of like taking each month and doing it over time, I'm now having to cram it all as soon as possible. So I think what I'm going to do is try and build. So I'm building the Senate section modular. So that part won't need to come. I won't need to take it down. I can modularly move it. I don't know if that's a word, but don't have to take that section down. But the previous sections, I wasn't planning on moving them. So I might try and move them, but I don't know how realistic that is.
Do you think that I don't know what your moving situation is going to be like if you're getting a U-Haul or something, but you could probably get like a giant Tupperware bin and just like take the mock apart piece by piece and then reassemble it to wherever you got it from, wherever you move to, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, the plan right now is I'm not moving too far.
Yeah.
And so the plan right now is to just strap it to, so I don't know. It all just depends, because the mock is so wide, I have to break it down into chunks small enough that can fit through a doorway, which is kind of tough right now considering how big it is. And so it's just going to depend on okay, what chunks can fit through a doorway. And then, I'll go from there and kind of figure out, because right now I couldn't even bring,
when you have to think about doorways.
And we live on the 4th floor of our apartment building, so we're going to have to carry it down 4 flights of stairs.
So that's problematic.
Yeah. But it's kind of sucked, not gonna lie. Let's see. Do you guys have any other questions? Lego Star Wars related? What's that? What'd you say?
I said you'll have more opportunity to do more mocks. There's a lot of
I mean, the bright side is, this will now give me incentive to start my next mock project sooner, because the mock will have already been taken apart. So, because sometimes it can be hard to like when I had Cato Nemoidia, that was about 80,000 pieces. And so it was a little hard to motivate myself to be like, okay, let's start taking this apart now so you can work on the next project. Whereas now I kind of have to. Would you guys kick me out if you knew I have never watched a single Star Wars movie? I have no idea what minifigs are. No, I mean, anybody can join as long as they're respectful and kind. Like, we don't kick people out for not knowing the same things we know. I don't know that our conversations are going to be very interesting to you, though. I don't know why you're here exactly. Did you have anything you wanted to say about Lego Star Wars? Or
hey man, maybe they just decided they want to.
Yeah, maybe they just hopped on randomly.
Anything I want to say about Lego Star Wars?
Yeah, any last thoughts?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just stumbled across.
I will say this. I have really tried to rethink my mindset in regards to Lego Star Wars, because I grew up with a certain Lego Star Wars that you did as well. And for many years, it was very much the same formula. But the world is so different today than it was then, that I feel like I've been holding Lego to the standards of the old times, whereas they're a company, they need to adapt and they need to change, because, there aren't as many Clone Wars sets. The waves are different. There's these helmets. But I'm trying to be more aware of Lego is trying new things and trying to adapt, because if they kept doing the same thing, they would die, right? They wouldn't make it as a company. And so I'm trying to be more aware of that and just kind of appreciate the Lego sets they're giving us, instead of being like, oh, they're not doing this, or this is bad, or this is wrong. Because I don't want to turn into one of those people who always complains and who's always like, oh, the old days were better. And it's like, well, maybe the old days were better, but the old days are the old days for a reason. Like they're not coming back.
And here's the thing too, they always say like, oh, listen to the fans will tell you what they want. But the problem with listening to the fans is that like sometimes the fans don't even realize that the things they thought were cool wouldn't be cool if they started being created again, if that makes any sense.
Like what?
Well, for example, it's like everyone in 2020 was like raving for a 501st battle pack, right? And like everyone was like, we want a 501st battle pack. And what did they do? They made it in 2020, and it was probably the best selling Lego set ever. But then in 2023, on January 1st, they released that new 501st battle pack, and like it's like on shelves everywhere. So it's like, yeah, listen to the fans, but at the same time, like you can't overdo things. And I think people are like, they think that like, oh, if Lego just released the things we wanted them to release, they would make so much money. And it's like, yes, but also no, because like,
yeah,
you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think I myself have fallen into this trap of like, why don't they do the ATOT and Gunship? I would buy that. I'd buy like 2 of those, and it's like, okay, 100 people would buy 2 of those, like, and then the other 5 billion people who buy Lego are going to be like, what is that thing? Like, I don't even know what this is. I don't want this. And then Lego's going to lose. They're going to have terrible profit. They're going to have no profit margins with that set. And so I think it's important to be aware of, like, as a consumer, of like, yeah, it'd be cool if they did this, but I don't know that it really makes sense because, us diehard Clone Wars fans would buy the ATOT and dropship, but someone's mom who's taking their son to go spend his allowance is going to be like, oh yeah, you can drop $300 on that weird looking thing. They're gonna be like, no, buy the $40 X-Wing over there instead. Save the rest of your money or something.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too. It's like Lego knows too at this point that they have different types of buyers. Like they have people like you and me who are like weirdo nerds who buy the stuff, but then they also have like the kids who it's like their target audience, and that's like a big chunk of it. And those are people who like might be some kid who just got his birthday money and wants to spend $20. You know what I mean? So it's like different strokes, right? So, and it's funny because man, I was like looking at I posted on my community tab yesterday, and I was like, oh, are you guys gonna be buying the new pirate ship set? The snub fighter that just got released. And everyone was like, oh, it's too expensive, $30. It's way too expensive for a set like that. And I was just like, it was kind of like a reality check for me because like, you become an adult a little bit, and like, for you and me, it's like spending $30 is like on the Legos is like not the end of the world. But I forget that like 50% of the market is like little kids who, are going to get $30 after mowing the lawn for 5 hours. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just like some perspective. I was like, oh man, I forgot I forgot that $30 is like for like a 14-year-old is like not chump change.
Right.
So
for sure. Yeah, I agree. That's definitely true. Shout out to Will. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday, man. I hope you have a great birthday. Hopefully you get some Legos. Hopefully you get to chill, do some fun stuff. Well, I think that's pretty much everything for Star Wars Lego related stuff. So last segment, we are going to do something a little bit different for these next few months or a couple months. Instead of doing the creator spotlight, we are going to talk Mando season 3. And it's spoilers, obviously. So if anybody hasn't seen it yet or doesn't want it spoiled, you might want to turn this section off. But we'll just kind of give you guys our thoughts, reactions, just discuss it in general. I watched it last night is when I started it. So it's fresh on the brain, which is good because I tend to forget things kind of quickly sometimes. Yeah. But do you want to do like a summary of the episodes, or you just want to like dive right in and kind of break it down and discuss it?
Well, we can just assume that whoever's staying has watched it. So I don't think we need to do a summary, but I'm down to just dive right in if you want.
Awesome. Let's see. Yeah, we'll give people a second just to hop out. But I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I was blown away with how much I enjoyed it. And I think it was because I have been putting up with so much mediocre Star Wars content that like a genuine passion project just was like such a breath of fresh air. Like, I enjoyed Andor. There were parts of Kenobi I enjoyed. I didn't like Book of Boba Fett. I haven't watched Bad Batch. And so for a while, I've just been kind of like, oh yeah, like Star Wars content. It's pretty cool. But
Mhm.
I was watching, I was like, this is Star Wars. Like it's so palpable, the difference in directorship and how impactful it is when Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau get together. Cause I know John did Book of Boba Fett, but it was just John. And there's just something about the two of those guys together who just get Star Wars and know what they're doing. Like I rating the episodes, episode 1, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. Episode 2, probably a 9. The only reason I give episode 1 an 8 is because I think um, it's your season opener. It should have been longer. Like that was one of the shortest streaming episodes they've put out. That's what I heard. I didn't fact check that, but I heard it was one of the shortest ones ever put out of all the TV shows. And it's like, that's your season opener. And you only gave us 1 episode. So that's the only reason I bumped it down. But I thought it was really good. Let's see, I had some notes written down. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I have to agree with you. I thought it was incredible, and it just feels like ever since Mando season 2 ended, it feels like the content they've been pushing out has been very lower quality. I wasn't a big fan of Boba Fett. I wasn't a big like. I liked aspects of it, and I liked aspects of Kenobi, but as a whole, like in my opinion, I don't think Kenobi as a TV show should have existed. Um, I just don't think it was necessary, and that's just me, so like it felt like it just felt so forced and unnecessary, and it just feels now they made that announcement too recently, I think a week ago, where they said they're gonna cut back on quantity and focus on quality, which I'm a big fan of because it just feels like since Mando season 2 ended in like 2020, I think it was it 2020 or early 2021? Everything that's been coming out after that, Kenobi, Boba Fett, like it just felt so cheap and forced. And I didn't agree with a lot of the creative decisions that they made in Boba Fett. I thought I just didn't like it. Same with Kenobi, like they just didn't feel Star Wars. And now I'm watching Mando season 2, and I'm like, this is. I get the same feeling watching it that I had when Mando season 2 was coming out, and we were all super hyped. And I feel like that was some of the most fun times to be a fan. Like Mando season 2 was like peak fandom moment because everyone was just super hyped every time a new episode was coming out, and it was like all the rage. And this is what it feels like again, where it's like this just feels right, and you watch it and you're like, okay, like everything they're doing makes sense. There's no like corny scenes or something that I disagree with, or a character isn't doing something they wouldn't do, and all this type of stuff that felt like the last 2 shows were doing. Andor, you mentioned, I thought it was good. It had a different vibe to it. It felt more like how do you say it? Like a drama series rather than like a Star Wars series, but it still felt Star Wars. I didn't, but Mando strikes that perfect balance where it's like a great show on its own, but also you watch it as a Star Wars fan and you're like, this feels like I'm watching something that should happen. So.
Yeah, to me, it felt like Disney fell into the trap that a lot of content creators fall into. If you have something successful, so then you milk it as hard as you can. And it's hard. We all have a tendency to do that. They saw Mando do well, and we're like, okay, let's give them as many Disney Plus TV shows as I can. And they just started cranking these out. And I think now they're starting to pull back and realize, like, okay, quantity isn't everything. These people clearly care about this, and we need to step back and reevaluate, because I think everything other than Mando has been under budget. I think it has felt rushed. Like the jokes, like you said, the dialogue, just the story. The story felt like, okay, this didn't take them a whole lot of time to write. And I agree. I don't think Kenobi should have been made, because I think you are attempting to tell a story that people have set too high a bar for you to ever achieve. And I don't think, that's not Disney's fault. It's our fault for
And also, it was like, why are they getting like Deborah Chow, like the most random lady to ever? Like, these are like literally the two main characters in Star Wars, and you're like giving it to some lady who directed one episode of Mando. It's like you should know who to give what projects to, right? It's
Yeah,
like
I think
if you're gonna do a Kenobi series, that should literally be like all Dave and his team,
right.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like it just felt weird. That show in my mind never happened. I don't like that show. Um,
And I think
uh,
Mando is just proving so many people right now because we had such a long break from it, right? It wasn't like because they didn't do it at all last year, right? Last season was end of 2021. So we had an entire year of no Mandalorian and only these other sets. But now we have a full comparison of like, see, this is what you can do. Like you are capable. Because I think so far, Mandalorian season 3 is going to be the best out of them all. For me
oh yeah,
personally,
for sure.
hands down, like these first 2 episodes are just absolute dynamite. The intangibles.
When I watch Mando, I'm like, just in my mind, I'm like, this is why Dave Filoni should be like the creative director of everything at Lucasfilm. Like he just like you watch the stuff he creates, and you're like, this guy just gets it. Like like no one else, you know.
Yeah,
He just
and it's just
understands what people want to see. He understands how it needs to be portrayed, written. He understands the characters. He understands motivations. He understands the intricacies of the lore. He understands all that type of stuff. So, you know, I just have full faith, you know. And also, I've been enjoying Bad Batch a lot too. I saw Firebird Bricks said I've really been liking Bad Batch, and I have to agree with him. Like Bad Batch has been really amazing this season, and that's all Dave Filoni and his team too. That's like all the Clone Wars people that's are doing Bad Batch now, and I'm just like I watched that show and I'm like, dude, this is like what animated Star Wars is supposed to be. You know what I mean? So I see stuff like that and then I compare it to like Kenobi or something like that, or even Boba Fett. You know, Boba Fett had I don't want to totally hate on Boba Fett because it did have aspects I really liked, like Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka. But it just felt like a weird show because it's like, why is this taking place here? Why did they turn Boba Fett into kind of like a like a little girl? Like you know what I mean? Like you know,
he
kind of
was
just
Disneyfied.
he was Disneyfied. Why did they turn him into like a little princess? And why is there like these guys with like Inspector Gadget costumes and all this type of stuff? Like it was just it was a weird show. I didn't like hate it. I don't think it shouldn't have existed, but I just don't agree with the creative decisions that were made. So
I think last thing I want to say about the Mandalorian is one thing that I've really appreciated is Bo-Katan's character, because I feel like there has been a lot of friction in the community of like, I think Rey and Reva really brought some friction in of like female based protagonists, antagonists of like, there were a lot of people who hated on them. And then there were a lot of people who lashed back of like, you just don't like them because they're women, or these Star Wars fans are all sexist and racist and stuff like that. And to me, Bo-Katan is just proves that like, no, it's more about who that character is and what they are working towards and the struggles they have. Like, it's not so much that they're women, because Bo-Katan is one of like, I think I've enjoyed what her story so far more than, or I've really enjoyed her story in season 3. We're only 2 episodes in, but it's so nuanced, and she's not this invincible person who just never has any issues. Like, her whole army left her. Like her plans in disarray, she failed. And it's like, that to me is perfect.
and also like she's one of those characters we know from Clone Wars where like we saw her at the height of her influence, where she did have like an army backing her, and now like no one messes with her. And here's the thing too, the whole female thing where it's like the female antagonists. The problem they have is just because they try and force it a little bit too much, and they make this like perfect character who just like wouldn't ever exist. And it's like, look, I get it. Like do your female characters, but let's be realistic here. No one, male or female, is ever like the perfect idealization that some of these characters are. So, it's it feels way more grounded when you look at a character like Bo-Katan or even Ahsoka. That she's a good character too, and it's like, these are people who've gone through ups and downs, and they've experienced life, right, or their version of it, and that's way more realistic than someone who was just like Ray or whatever, who's like, oh look, I have the Force now, swing this saber around like a baseball bat and like beat this guy who's had 20 years of training or whatever, and it's like,
And then like, I just think, they really took the time to like flesh out the character and like, okay, what do we want her to portray? What do we want her to represent? Whereas to me, it felt like maybe they just didn't know that super well with Rey. And I don't even know what to say about Reva. I mean, that whole show is just like, I don't even want to get into it too much because, there's so much you can dissect because it's all just so bad. But I think Bo-Katan is just, to me, it's just so nice to see that and be like, yeah, like this is awesome. This is a character I can really get behind.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And, it's cool too because in the beginning, you also get to see throughout season 3, it's like, obviously the show is about Mando, but like I feel like people don't talk enough about his character development where, in the beginning, like it was cool. It was like, oh, look at this guy with cool armor and he has like a little green baby alongside him. But, now it's gotten to the point where like you really get to see his character development too. And it's like a lot more people think Mando is cooler than like, back in the day, like remember when season 2 was coming out and we first saw Boba Fett back and we were like, oh yeah, let's go Boba. And it's like now a lot of people would tell you Mando's cooler than Boba. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like you get to see this new guy's character development too, and it's like this wasn't even really a real character. And like no one, even after season 1, like season 1 of Mando was still super good, but like even after season 1, a lot of people still didn't really care about Mando. He was kind of just like a guy with a helmet, and now he's way more than that.
Yeah, I think that's why I like season 3 so much is because I felt like for me personally, the first 2 episodes were a little slow on the Mando growth and like, okay, where are we getting with this? There were a lot of like one and done episodes, which are good too, which are entertaining. But what I've really liked about this is like, okay, here's the overarching story, and they were hinting at it. They were kind of dancing around and teasing it, but now I feel like we're finally getting into the real meat of like, okay, what's the Mando going to be doing other than these little wacky hijinks with Grogu all over the galaxy?
And I kind of liked this episode a lot because going into it when he met what was that, the mechanic lady's name?
I don't remember her name.
You know the one
frizzy
I'm talking
hair,
about, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning of the show.
Yeah, frizzy hair lady.
With the frizzy hair. But when he met up with her and he was like, oh, I need this droid part or whatever, I was like, okay, here we go. We're gonna spend like an episode or 2 episodes looking for this droid part. And then all of a sudden I was like pleasantly surprised when she was like, oh, just take this R5 unit and like use that instead. And then like immediately we're at Mandalore. I'm like, okay, so I like the pacing. You know what I mean? It's not like they're going to waste an episode or 2, looking for some droid part. So that was cool. I liked that they just kind of like skipped over that BS.
I agree. I was surprised to see Mandalore in the second episode. I was like, whoa, we're here already? This is awesome.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, okay, good. I don't want to like spend 2 episodes looking for some droid part, so the pacing is good.
I'm excited to see where the show goes.
And the ending was crazy. The ending was like the fact that, because I was literally thinking to myself, I was like, come on, like they always talk about mythosaurs, like all the time, right? And like in Rebels they talked about it, in Clone Wars and in Mando 1 and 2, and I'm like, when are we actually gonna see like a mythosaur in Star Wars? And then like the ending of the show comes, I'm like, what?
I know, it was so cool. That was awesome. I want to go back and rewatch that scene just so I can get a better look at it.
Yeah, and it was funny too because when he was like getting into the water, I was like, I feel like something's gonna pull him down. And that's exactly what happened.
I thought it was cool too with the mythosaur and the giant beast at the beginning of episode 1. how it was just, it made me feel like I was like, this is Star Wars. This is like the prequels when they're on Naboo and they're being chased by those giant creatures, and then they have the giant Fumbas holding the shield generator, just like, and then even the what are they called? The space whales, with all the tentacles.
I know.
But just to see those, just
the
like
ones from
to me, that was always one of my favorite things as a kid with Star Wars, was just the giant creatures and the aliens. And there's so much of that just casually thrown in there. Like, that battle at the beginning was just a little battle, just a little scene. And like that to me shows that wouldn't have been in Kenobi. That wouldn't have been in these other shows because it would have been too big budget, or they would have thrown something else off. Purgles, that's what
also,
it is.
what you know what also bugged me about, not to like go back to hating on Kenobi, but like why was there like no aliens?
It was a very isolated show. Like, to me, Mandalorian is very all encompassing. Like, I know they went to different places, but it almost felt like they went to different set pieces. It was like, okay, let's squeeze into this little set piece over here. We're going to squeeze into this little set piece. But for some reason, Mandalorian just feels like an open world video game where it's like,
it does. It really does.
It's just so big.
And with Kenobi specifically, about the set pieces, they were using that like volume thing they have, and I don't know about you, but anything they film in there, I think you can tell it looks off. Like on set is always going to be superior to, like whatever technology they come up with, I think.
To be honest, I can't really tell a difference.
Okay.
But I do get what you're saying, because I felt like Kenobi, even Book of Boba Fett, was very confined, and not so much of a space wise, but just like what was in the scenes. Like, I like with the Mandalorian, like as he walks through that little town, like you see all these other things, the band playing, the pirates, the people cooking things. And then you go to Mandalore and it's like these huge, big shots of large areas. And I feel like we didn't see very much of that in Kenobi. Like we saw small, or any of the shows, even like Andor, I don't remember a lot of, like, you saw the whole of the main city of Mandalore just bombed out.
Yeah.
You went down into it, right? And you saw it all still, which I thought was really cool.
I really liked seeing Bo-Katan's ship flying too. That was really sick.
Yeah, that was dope.
Man, I want to rewatch that episode now that we've been talking.
I do too. I do too. The second episode was so good.
Yeah, I really liked it. And also seeing like Bo-Katan's capabilities was pretty cool, because like we obviously know she's a good fighter, but in some regards she's a better she's better at combat than like even Din himself in some aspects. And it was cool to like see her abilities when she was like rescuing him. So
yeah, it was cool. She definitely showed you like, okay, here's a Mandalorian and Din, and then here's like what the ruler of Mandalore looks like.
Yeah, literally. And like obviously, like, not to discredit Din Djarin, he's obviously good at combat, but like I feel like she has a level of experience that just outshines him, because like we saw her in Clone Wars, we saw her fighting like alongside other people. Like she has a type of combat experience where it's more of like a war experience, whereas Din Djarin is just a bounty hunter. Everything he's done has been 1-to-1, like him versus one other person, whereas she has like experience doing that, but also fighting in like a war against multiple people at the same time, so it's like you see how her experience, maybe she's just more of a fighter, or maybe like I'm just talking right now, I don't know. But
yeah, I think it's true. I'm excited to see where the series goes. Let's see, I think that's pretty much everything I had to say about Mando.
Awesome, man.
Do you have anything else?
No, man. I'm just super excited to see where the show goes. What is it? 8 episodes, right?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think it's 8. But it's like the best, in my opinion, it's the best Star Wars thing Disney has done, and I'm just excited to see what happens. And every time Mando season comes out, I remember saying this when Mando 2 was coming out, it's like I'm more and more convinced that like Dave Filoni is the guy who needs to be the creative, like executive producer of everything Star Wars. He needs to like say yes and no to everything, because this guy just gets it.
Yeah, he does. He can definitely tell he trained under George. So I think that's pretty much everything we had to say for this episode. That wraps up all 3 segments. Thank you everyone for tuning in, for hanging out with us, dropping comments, dropping your thoughts. It's always appreciated. And if you guys ever have any like topics or themes you would like to hear us discuss, please let us know. We're always looking for suggestions and options. Do you have anything else you want to plug or any last things you want to say?
No, man.
I'm really bad at ending podcasts because, it's not one of those things where you're like, okay, we're done. Bye. You feel like you kind of have to like wind down a little bit, but then I end up just rambling and just saying.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same because you don't know how to end it and you're just like, okay, bye.
Because I also know this.
It's a good stream.
I also know the stream is a little bit delayed. And so like by the time they hear that it's ending, they might be dropping a few last questions and then I've already ended it. And then I don't even.
Yeah. Well, what I usually do is I say like, if you have any final things, make sure to say them now. And then I'm talking a little bit. And then by that point, the questions usually come in,
Yeah. That's usually what I do on like my Coruscant building streams and stuff.
Yeah. So no, man, it's been a pleasure. And I'm having a lot of fun doing like these bi-weekly streams. So we'll keep it up for sure.
Sweet.
We'll talk Mando. We'll talk Legos. We'll talk about whatever we want, right? So
life.
Yeah, sounds good, dude.
Yeah. All right. We will catch you all later. But until next time, happy building.
Bye.